and welcome once again to another edition of Today's History Upper Ohio Valley. I'm your host, Bob Connors. Today we have a great program set up for you. We're going to talk about what it's like to run for auditor in Belmont County, Ohio. And with that, Jessa Lepic is with us. Jessa Lepic.
Not a problem. It happens all the time. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here. And you're right. It's been quite a journey running for Belmont County Auditor, but I'm very thankful to have had this experience so far.
Well, that's great. I wanted to just ask you to take a few minutes to introduce yourself.
Okay. So I am a lifelong Belmont County resident. I went to Martinsbury School District from kindergarten through high school. And I am also a graduate of Ohio University. I received a bachelor's in business administration. Since then, I married my husband, Caleb, and we have an amazing son, Braylon, who is 7, and he goes to St. Clairsville Elementary School. And from 2012 to 2021, I actually worked for the Belmont County Auditor's Office up until the point of which I resigned and then decided to run for office.
Wow. So you're familiar with what goes on in the auditor's office?
Absolutely. 9 years is a...
Well, that was what my next question is, so it's perfect that you said that. And what are the responsibilities of the auditor? And I'm talking about the day-to-day operation, what happens, what do you do with your time, how does your workday go? And I want you to explain this because most people, believe it or not, probably have no idea what an auditor does. So you can explain.
You're absolutely right about that. So specifically, the auditor is followed and surrounded by a great staff of employees who are supposed to carry out the duties of the auditor's office. There's many different operations that happen in the office. There's accounts receivable and accounts payable, the budgetary, all of the health insurance for county employees, the payroll for all county employees, as well as we take care of the weights and measures, which is, for your gas pumps and the scales at grocery stores. We're responsible for making sure that those are up to code. And then also we have the real estate portion of our office, which is where you do deed transfer, trailers, CAUV, many different categories there. And also we're responsible for dog license, cigarette license, and vendor's license. So there's a lot of different things there, and I may have skipped a few, but it's kind of like a rough idea as to what goes on in there. And the auditor is responsible for making sure that they have good employees in place to ensure that these jobs are done correctly, meeting all of the deadlines, and following the high revised code.
So there's a lot of supervisory.
Yes, an auditor needs to be a great administrator, and you do have your own duties that you need to do as well, but making sure that you are okay with letting go to have great employees support you, and you even want to have smarter people around you than yourself. Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. I tried that and it worked. I could hire anybody. I want to move on just a little bit. Rather than typical questions that happen in this type of an interview, what we were thinking about is just finding out more about you and what you think about various issues.
Okay.
So we're going to kind of go in that direction. And starting with this, I'd like to find out from you, what do you think is the biggest concern of the people in Belmont County in this election cycle?
So I think that what is important to the people, especially with all of the constituents that I've met so far, is that they're kind of tired of the same, and that they want to know more. They want to be treated right. They want their voices to be heard because they're electing these people into office, so they need them to represent them to the fullest. And so I think people are very concerned with making sure that they have the right people in there that represent them and get them, the results that they're actually looking for.
Well, in the auditor's work, probably not a lot of people know everything that goes on there, as I mentioned earlier. So it's difficult for them to pin them down to what's in that realm that they're interested in.
Yeah.
But what are the things that they've talked to you about? You've talked to people. What have they talked to you about?
So most people approach me wanting help with their property taxes and the evaluations that are happening and the appraisals, and people just don't understand why their homes are valued at the rates that they are, or why there's this significant of an increase when there's been no upgrades to their homes.
Maybe you can tell us why right now.
Well, actually, I'm not currently responsible for that, but I would love to be in the future. But what I think most people don't know is that if they are in disagreement with their values, they're able to file complaints, and that's always January 1st through March 31st. They can fill out a complaint and then turn that in, and then it would go to the Board of Revision. One thing that I want to be able to implement is making sure that we have the right people on this, making sure that these homes are valued right the first time and not bringing them to the point of which they feel the need to file a complaint. Also, letting these people know that they have the option to even file the complaint to begin with, because so many people that I've spoke with don't even know that that's an option.
How would they file a complaint?
So there's actually supposed to be a form on the auditor's website that would be posted new for each year. I'm not sure if that was done last year or not, or if it was advertised. But the best way to get a hold of a form would be to actually go to the auditor's office or to call, and you could speak with one of the staff there and tell them who you are and that you'd like to have a form mailed to you, and then you would just be responsible for getting it back to them.
Okay. Is there any other things that they brought up with you?
Just people just don't understand. They don't know why, you have a trailer that's put on as a home, or why it went from 40,000 to 120,000. And these are things that I want to be able to help these people understand or correct if they're wrong. And being able to be more out there as auditor, I think, is important, because there's so many people who don't understand, and we need to be more than just complacent sitting in our office waiting for them to come to us. I would like to be able to be out there and have initiatives where we're letting people know that now is the time to fill out those forms, or did you know that you can do this in the auditor's office, or that you can get owner occupancy reductions, or if you're eligible based off of age and income, if you're eligible for homestead, and helping these people get the tools that they need. And I would like to be able to be more out there, letting these people know that they exist. I want to go to them, not necessarily them always come to me.
Yeah, you want to have more offense in that
Yeah.
game.
Well, my whole stance is that I'm running to be a voice for the people. And in order to be a voice for the people, you need to know what it is, one, that the people want, and two, you have to deliver on that. And so if elected, I'm ready to take on that task.
Well, that's great. That's one of my issues, is I believe that elected people are the voice of the people who sent them. They're not there to do what they want. They're there to do what the people want.
Yeah.
You agree with that?
Absolutely. I want to represent all of those people who are willing to stick their neck out there for me. This election is bigger than me. I'm not in it for personal gain. I'm in it to help you and everyone else, because we all deserve a voice and somebody who wants to get the best for everyone here. And also even to advocate for this county on a larger scale, because when you are an elected official, you do have the ability to throw in your 2 cents where it's needed and try to get us the best, because it's a beautiful county we live in.
So if I understand you, you're saying you want to speak for the people and their issues. Is that
Absolutely.
way to sum it up?
Yeah.
Well, that's great. I want to move on just a little bit to what do you think the biggest issue of your campaign that you're running for auditor, and inside your campaign, what's the biggest issue and issues there? What do you think is most important? What's important to you?
So the most important thing to me is just making sure that I am able to get myself out there and let these people know who I am and what I stand for. So that's a hard task in itself, because there's so many people to reach in this county and let them know who I am and what I'm standing for. And I believe that I'm also kind of at an uphill battle, according to most, because of the side of the ticket that I'm running on. But after having worked in that office for 9 years, I can safely say that it's not a political position. At no point have I ever seen decisions made in that office that affect either party, and it shouldn't. And so just letting people know that, and letting everyone know that I'm one of you. I'm trying to help you and be there for you, and just represent everyone to the best of my ability. So these are some uphill battles, but they're also good things. It's the whole reason why I'm doing it.
Are there any things that you've run into that are sort of difficult to manage as a candidate things you didn't expect to run into?
Not necessarily. I think I was pretty prepared for what was going to come. I think some of the hardest stuff is, getting volunteers and, making sure that everyone is falling in line where they need to help make such a large operation happen. But I've had a really great support system with my husband and my son and my family, and I'm very thankful for all of that.
Okay. Let's switch a little bit to something different. I want to talk a little bit about current events. They don't necessarily have to do with being an auditor.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I believe that the people have views and things are on their mind. They may, I guess I could say this, most people probably aren't sitting around thinking about the auditor's job. They're thinking about other issues that are affecting their life.
Right.
And I believe they can better get to know you if they know what your ideas are about those things, because it's affecting you like it is me or anyone else.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to go there, and I want to start with current events in the news. Recently, 5 million illegal aliens or illegal immigrants crossed our borders from the southern border. And I'd like to just know, what is your take on the current situation on our borders?
Well, that's difficult. That doesn't, necessarily apply to being Belmont County Auditor, like you said, but my biggest thing is that we need to worry about things going on in our homes and in our country, and worrying about getting the best for the people that live here. And that's actually why I chose to run for office, because I believe that we have to focus on improving our own hometowns and what happens here, because if we aren't willing to fight for ourselves here on this small local level, then who's going to fight for us on those big levels when it comes to things of that nature, which are pretty serious, because we have so many people here that need, homes and jobs and food and, kids that need provided for. And so this is my attempt, starting on this small level, to, be a part of the big picture.
Because that immigration at this level is unprecedented.
Right.
And it is likely going to affect Belmont County and every other county.
Right.
Because these people send kids to school. They deal with everything that you would deal with.
Right.
And I'm just wondering how you might be thinking about how that might affect Belmont County. Because it could change the landscape. There are that many
It could.
people.
You could have people relocate here. I'm not really sure how that would affect it or how we would manage that. It definitely wouldn't be something that would be managed by my office if elected, but I definitely hope that, the higher ups can help get some of that under control. What about your personal views on those things? What do you think that they should be ready for, and things that the local level can do to prepare for this kind of thing? I guess on the local level, it's just making sure that everyone here is taken care of first and foremost, that our residents of Belmont County are being cared for and provided for, because we all live here, and we're the ones paying the property taxes and everything else, and that we are first.
Now, do you think the border should remain open or be closed?
It's hard to say, because we're a land that's built on opportunity and, allowing people to get a second chance, and, that's how we all got here, was on a boat. And so I think that it's wise to allow people the opportunity to come live here, but I think it's important that those are done with the proper documentations and everything else.
Yeah. Okay. Here's a good one for you. Recently, ICE spent $90 million buying cell phones for the people coming into the country. $90 million. It's for their smartphone program. Now, what are your thoughts?
As somebody who wants to do right with government funds, I think we have to have a tighter control on our budgets, and we need to make sure that our budgets are being spent on the right things. That probably wouldn't be my priority of letting go through here on a local level. So, you know what I'm trying to say?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I just wanted your attitude, your ideas, what your thoughts are about it.
I'm all about helping people. That's the hard part. I want to help everyone, but I believe that, like I said, our country has to come first, and the people here, and that's important to manage those budgets and make sure that the people here are receiving what they need first and foremost.
Okay. Now, The next question is going to be very general,
Okay.
so you can just let your mind wander, but I'd like you to talk about this for a little bit. Generally speaking, how would you describe the current events taking place in this country right now? And you know there's a lot going on. I mean, we have issues in schools, we have issues with the budgets, we have issues with the borders, we have issues with the war. There's a lot going on, and just what are your general thinking about that? Just please elaborate a little bit.
Yeah, so the current conditions of our country are issues that reflect even into my campaign. I hear a lot about it, and unfortunately I can't help with those things, but
What kind
I
of
know based off of presidentials, the previous president, the current president, and it doesn't matter which side you're talking about, everyone's unhappy. And it makes me really sad because I think that we all need to be fighting for the greater good of this country. And when we all have the best interest of the United States or our areas in mind, then how can we disagree? And it makes me really sad that so many people are willing to, you know, truly hate each other over these things.
Yeah.
And I think that those are major concerns. And I want to, you know, support everyone the same. Whatever you believe in it, I'm there for you. We don't have to agree, and I'm, you know, still fine with you, and I'll still be your friend at the end of the day because, you know, those are the things that are important because we need to treat everyone with respect. And I watch the way that things are now, and there's such a lack of respect for other human beings. And even down to my son being in school, it's amazing how much stuff happens, you know, that you have to try to protect them from. And, you know, he's only 7. You know, you want to protect his innocence. And there's so much that happens, you know, things that you see on TV and the lack of, like, filtering that there is nowadays. And it's kind of crazy. It's a crazy world we live in. And so I just want to try to do my part here, as small as it might seem, to try to help and be a role model and make a difference.
Okay, well, that makes a lot of sense there. Do you think any of that affects the local community? What's going on in the schools, for example? I mean, there's and the other thing about people fighting in our community, it's everybody around us.
Yep.
How that affects you?
Yeah. There's so many different things that happen where you get, even last year, there was a notification about the school being on lockdown because of potential threats or that there might be heavier police presence at the school. And it's unfortunate that our kids have to go through these things. And as a parent, do you send your kid to school today? Do you have to worry about, you know, what could happen? Or, but I just try to teach my son how to have respect for everyone, and you know, whether that's his peers in his classroom or his teachers, and that it doesn't matter what anyone looks like or, you know, whatever. He needs to be friends with everybody just the same and treat everyone with the respect that they deserve. And it's hard to communicate that to, you know, smaller humans.
They don't understand.
Yeah, but I think I'm doing a good job.
Well, that's good. 'Cause I think that kids already do that on their own. And we have to tell them, but they do that on their own. They don't need someone to tell them, well, you got to treat this person like this, and you got to treat that person like that.
Well, it's the part of preparing him for if something bad does happen, you know, that this is where he goes, this is who he talks to, or, you know, what happens if someone bullies your friend? How do you respond to these situations? And it's tough. It's tough to be a parent.
I would imagine. I really would imagine. It's a difficult world we're living in. Do you think that people in Belmont County, have they talked to you about maybe being worried about taxes at this time? What are they saying about taxes?
Yeah, I know everyone's worried about like their property taxes. Is that what you're referring to? They're worried about
all taxes.
So there was just an appraisal. Now they're doing the large scale appraisal, and you know, everything goes up. Everything. And it doesn't matter if it's gasoline, your property taxes, you know, the groceries, just everything consistently goes up. And I know people are concerned and on what we can do too. And it's just important to make sure that we're transparent in doing our best to make sure that everyone either gets those reductions or making sure that the scales are accurate so that we are not overpaying for certain items, and just doing our best to fulfill our duties to the highest degree.
Okay. Well, is there anything else that you would like to put in that I didn't cover that you'd like to talk about a little bit?
Sure. So
Go ahead.
during my 9 years in that auditor's office, I was able to see many different ways of running the auditor's office. And I think one thing that stands out to me the most is that some of the best auditors were previous employees. They knew the scope of work. They allowed their employees to do their jobs, and it pretty much remained consistent. And the auditor's office was a very cohesive unit, and it ran seamlessly. Even, if the auditor wasn't going to be present, we were still able to get our work done in a good fashion because it was just a very great place to work. And I believe that, if elected, I would be able to restore a lot of those things and make sure that all employees, because there has been such a high turnover rate, that the employees will get the knowledge that they need as to why they're doing their jobs, not just how they're doing their jobs, because the entire front half of the office, which is where you take care of budgetary, is new, in making sure that they all know exactly what needs done and helping them get those tools. And whether that's, with training from state auditors or neighboring counties, or things that I can do myself based off of all of my years of experience there. And I just want to help. I just want to help them be where they need to be and utilize the great staff that's there, and just really try to help and make a difference.
Okay. And how would the people of Belmont County benefit from your being the auditor?
I think that they would benefit because I would be there for them. I would be willing to listen to them and help them with what they need, or pointing them in the right direction to get the tools that they need. By having a good leader, you would be able to have more retention of staff, which gives you, when you have employees who have been there 10, 20, 30 years, they have a great wealth of knowledge, and losing them is detrimental to the office because you can't replace 20 years of experience. Do you know what I'm saying? It's just, they have such a knowledge, and even if you train with that person for 2 weeks or a month, there are duties that are done in that office just once a year or every other year. So there are things that you just can't teach somebody in 2 weeks to a month. And so, just trying to get all of that back is just really important.
Okay. So is there anything you'd like to add?
That's it. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah.
Well, it's been nice having you here, and I think we've had a pretty good conversation. What do you think?
Yeah, I loved it. I like hard questions.
Great. Well, great. Those are my easy ones, by the way.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it.
I really appreciate it.
And thank you folks at home for watching. We'll see you next time.